we know the vibras. Wanda Don, Michael Carrasco, aka Mr. Golden. And let's vibe. You know the vibras?
Because we know the Vibras. Welcome to the 100th episode of the You Know the Vibras podcast. I'm the one and only Wanda Don, and as always, I'm accompanied by Michael Carrasco.
What up, what up?
Man, before we get started, it's the 100th episode, so it's only right. For those OG, You Know the Vibras listeners, this is for you guys. Ready, Michael?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you know the Vibras?
Cause we know the vibras. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, that's
Yes,
been
sir.
what?
Man.
How many
I feel
seasons
rusty,
has
man.
it been since we said that, man? Was that?
I mean, it's still in the intro, but we haven't said it in the intro anymore. But yeah, that was our. I mean, it's still our thing. Every
Still our
time there's
thing.
people that listen to the podcast, they always say this. People always, it's the slogan, man.
Yes,
It's the
sir.
slogan, and it's something that we struggled a bit to find. But
Mhm.
like for many of you guys that are trying to find a slogan and stuff, it just happens naturally. Honestly, you know what I mean.
100%. Yeah, yeah. It was like,
But yeah,
what were we gonna say? I was like, oh, this kind of makes sense, and we just kind of ran with it.
yeah, and many may see it as cringy and stuff, but people like it and people buy into it. People always say it. Do you know the Vibras? People always say it when they talk to me. You feel me? So
Mhm.
it's something that has stuck. And man, 100 episodes. Here we are, bro. This episode is gonna be, us looking back at all the growth we have made from episode 1 to episode 100.
100. Yep.
As you may see, I got some nostalgia. I have the retro shirt.
Man,
Yeah, I
you
might
got
have to
that
hang this. I might have to
OG.
put this shirt. I'm gonna have to put this shirt
Ooh.
in a frame, man. This is the first shirt
You got to case it and
that I
sign
wore.
it.
The Vibras. Facts. Michael, on the other hand, couldn't find his shirt.
I think I
You
donated
could at least
it.
put something. You could at least put a gray shirt on. You could at least put a gray shirt on, man.
I don't have
But,
like a nice gray shirt. I don't have one.
But yeah, man. Nah, it's all good, bro. It's all good. But yeah, this shirt was interesting, an interesting piece of memory. Definitely memorabilia for the Vibras, and it was a shirt that I was nervous in when we first started.
Mhm.
But yeah, man. Wow. Let's talk about this, man. 100 episodes, man. Like, who would have ever thought? I mean, it's something that at first, from the first episode, it was like it seemed like something that was so far away,
Right.
and at the time, seemed like something unlikely. I'd say, because it's just like after the first couple episodes, every episode we have done has come from the minds of these guys right here that you're looking at or listening to, and we always strived on to not copy any other podcast, and to try to be as original as possible. And 100 episodes of content that we came up with is definitely impressive, I feel like, and is one of the biggest challenges, I'd say, that are part of podcasting, because we mentioned before, it's something that could be very saturated. But when
Right.
you make it
Right.
your own, because there's times you're going to talk about the same thing, but when you make it your own, that's the most important thing. But so yeah, what would you say, man? Like, did you see? This is my first question for you. Did you see 100 episodes? Did you see it happening? Like, did you truly see 100 episodes happening?
Man, I mean, I saw it just because the dynamic that we have. I knew we could take it there, and now it's like, let's try it. Let's get to the 1,000 episodes, and all those high numbers, and make history with
Facts.
it.
Facts, not facts. And I mean, I wish we could have spent this time together. But
Right. Right.
you know,
100%.
some travel inconveniences. Although I am
Yeah.
gonna say I am a bit upset. My friend here is gonna be in Chicago when I'm not in Chicago. Crazy, right? So
Yeah,
that's
man, I
just
didn't
life, I
plan
guess, man.
that.
I
No,
mean, maybe
I
God
feel
doesn't, you know.
I feel like the thing was like I kind of like because I'm going with family and they kind of planned the trip, and you told me a couple weeks ago that you were going to DR, and then at the same time I was like, oh damn, I was going to go over there in these dates, and it was like, damn, that's the same dates that I'll be leaving. So, but yeah, but we'll get around to get a couple episodes in person here soon. We just gotta plan it. It's just, man, being a grown up is hard because now we got work and a lot of things that get in between. But we'll figure it out how to get you guys a couple in person episodes.
Facts, not facts. But man, it's just damn. There go Chicago. But yeah, it's crazy to me, man. Honestly, because to me, it felt like a true challenge. You know,
Right.
because 100 episodes just is a lot of episodes, man. It truly is. Like you see, it's been what 2 years, almost 2 years.
Two yeah,
Yeah, 2 years and a half,
two
right?
years and a half, right around there.
So that's a because we were doing episodes nonstop,
Right.
and
Right.
and the only time we would have somewhat of a break is when we would transition to another season,
Yeah, we've
and
even when we were
yeah, I
traveling, we
mean
were putting episodes together.
exactly, and man, that's huge. That's a huge accomplishment. I think this is a huge accomplishment to many of you. I don't know if you guys see it as a huge accomplishment, but this is huge for me at least, and I'd say the same for you, just
A hundred
because it's a
percent.
hundred episodes of content.
A
Like
100%. Yeah, and not a lot of
that's why,
podcasts
like, yeah,
make it to the 100 episodes. A lot of people,
facts.
if they don't see any traction happening, stop. Probably in the first like 10, 20 episodes.
Yeah, and that's something to talk about really quick too. Um, this has definitely been a challenge. I wasn't expecting the whole virtual component to be this challenging.
Right.
Challenging in the aspect of being able to connect with the listeners and viewers. Um, is very hard. It's very hard to you know bring attention to these
Right.
videos now. But luckily, we have people that still enjoy them and come in every week to check us out. This is definitely a temporary solution. And many of you guys are a part of our process right now and are part of our journey and our growth. Um, but man, this is just learning curve. I feel like, and this is a way for us to learn how to make content from a distance. Because then when we get together, it'll just be easier
A
for us to
hundred
do
percent.
so.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But
the one thing I will add to that is the plan was we were supposed to move to the same city together, but life got in the way, and we kind of both went our separate directions for a little bit. But just the fact that we keep making content, take the time to make content, even when we are what, like 16, 20 hours apart, that just shows you guys the dedication that we have for this podcast and um to you guys, honestly.
yeah, facts. Like I know at first it seemed like something we were just doing, like throwing something into the dark to see what
Right.
happened. But we knew from the beginning we were serious about it. We knew where we wanted to get to. We always had serious conversations about the podcast. It's so serious that we always thrived from the beginning on the quality of the content and the quality of the conversation. We always were trying to be one step ahead of where we are now, because we always aimed on the best microphones, the best cameras, the best conversation. So everything, like we truly talked about this many times. You know
Right.
yourself that we always strived on that. At first we started with one of Michael's cameras that he had,
Yep.
and then we wanted different angles, so we went into the DJI
Yeah, Bose.
Osmos.
Yeah, we had two of them
Uh,
bad boys.
yeah,
Uh,
like we went like three cameras, and then we even
mm-hmm.
went the full distance. We didn't have stands, so we improvised as Dominicans. We got
Zip
some
ties.
what is the thing, zip ties, and tied them to the microphones,
Yeah.
and then like we always every week you would see a different angle because we
different.
just didn't
Hmm.
like how it was just different. You know what I mean? So, but that was part of growth, and we were so open to taking criticism at
100%.
first,
Yeah, yeah. Even to this day,
and
man. Even to
yeah,
this day.
yeah, yeah. I
And
mean, and people would say, oh, they would talk about it. Oh, that looks a little too like personal, like not, like it didn't
too
look like a,
close, yeah, or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So eventually, we just, the Osmos disappeared, and we just stuck to one camera, but we played with the angle still.
Right.
But like, yeah, go into that though, man. Go into the growth of the
Man,
quality of
the
the episodes as
quality.
well, and the vision from beginning and to now,
Yeah,
lights and everything.
I mean, you guys can see the growth if you go through the first season, like the first, I would say, if I'm not mistaken, like the first 10, 15 episodes, like the quality, it was, I wouldn't say bad, but you can see the improvements from episode to episode. Like the first episode looks completely from episode, like by the last episode in the season, and that was used consistently playing. Okay, and me, I also do like films and photography and stuff like that, so I was
Hmm.
consistently getting a lot of equipment. So, and that kind of added on to it, but it started with one camera. We were only limited to what, 30 minutes of footage
Talk about that. Yeah,
before
yeah.
before it would stop. So let's say if the
Nah,
conversation,
yeah. We got to talk about that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so we had the first, I would say, the first couple episodes, the first, uh, I want to say like 10 or 15 episodes, and I think after that, that's when I got the new camera. But those first couple episodes, we had a 30-minute limit because the camera that I had, could only, because it's more of a photography camera, so it will shoot
Hmm.
only 30 minutes of continuous video. And then the whole thing that we didn't want to do, that is having to stop and then restart the camera and all that, because that would take away from the, I would say, from the
Conversation.
conversation, because we had to, let's say if we had to stop mid conversations, and we had to reset up, and then he probably would have forgotten what he was going to say, and then vice versa. So that's why we made it that short. And then you can see the audio, man, the audio too, where I'm used, what I was using was a field, it's called a field recorder. So
Mm.
essentially, how those
Hmm.
work, they're used for boom mics. I mean, the kind of work with the microphones that we use for the podcast, but you could hear like either his sound will be a little low, far sound distant, or same thing with mine. So then we invested into an actual podcast recorder, and audio quality got better. um
Facts.
we were able to, like, let's say if we could, if we had to bring somebody, and the first interview we did was virtual, so we were able to connect the iPad to that recorder and actually have nice audio from that as well. uh
Yeah.
then after that, then it's just getting more lighting. We were using what is called pancake lights. This is little circle lights that we'll put two on each side, and then I also have some other LED lights for video. We'll put those in the background, kind of. But then, as me liking buying camera gear, we invested into a dome light, which that's where you guys can see the biggest improvement when it came to the lighting, and the all those cinematics components when it comes to podcasting. Um,
Facts.
and then the camera, man, I took a heavy hit. I took a heavy hit. So we went from a Canon uh, M50, which is not a bad little camera. So if you guys are thinking about starting a podcast, definitely I recommend it. I recommend it. The only limitation, like I said, is that you only have 30 minutes to play around with. But if you have somebody that can actually, like, quote unquote, produce or be the producer for the podcast, you can have him. Once it gets to that point, or you can have a multiple camera setup where you can put them. Okay, this one finishes at this one finishes at this time, and then you can go bounce and that. I mean, it's gonna be a little harder editing, but definitely a good camera to start with. Um, even if you get like a couple Logitech the webcams, it's good things to start
Yeah.
with. You can plug them into the computer and record that way. Um, but yeah, the camera was I would say the biggest
I
improvement.
wanted to touch on that. I wanted to touch on that. Like many of you don't understand how hard it was
Yeah,
with the 30 minutes because I mean, first thing first, we had no producer. We
right.
are our own
We still
team.
don't have
So
it.
yeah, I mean, yeah. So I mean, we never really saw what the things looked like. You know, like what the
Right,
video was looking like
right.
until we then got the little monitor thing when we got the black magic. But yeah, so but it was so hard, and believe it or not, we did with not having a producer or anything, we did come through a hiccup, and it was something that it was. Or I feel like personally, this was the biggest challenge, or at least one of the biggest challenges. One time we were recording an episode. I can't remember which episode it was, and the camera died, and we didn't even know.
Oh yeah, yes.
So we made a whole episode with no camera,
With
no
no camera,
video,
no video. Yeah,
and we come to find out once we finish and look, and then wow, and we were like, man, that was a great episode,
I know,
and
right?
we had to recreate the whole episode. Like it
Man, which
was so that's the
episode is
only time
that?
personally. That was when we were talking about Tiger Woods or I can't remember, but
Yeah, yeah,
man,
yeah.
that's the only time I felt like
He
I
really hit
feel
a
like we did
hiccup.
a this. Well, yeah, had a hiccup, and I feel like we did a disservice to the listeners and viewers. Why? Because we always preached on being organic, not scripting anything, and that's the
Right.
only time it really felt somewhat scripted because we had to literally we already had the conversation, so we had to like refresh our memory and try to have the whole conversation
Mm-hmm.
again. Um, so it felt robotic. You know what I mean?
Yes,
It didn't feel
yes.
natural. So that's what I would say the problem was with that camera. And man, it was such a relief once we could do over 30 minutes, and that's when the conversation started getting longer and better. But there's also pros and cons to that for those that want a podcast. Sometimes you'd see the retention is better with a shorter video,
Right.
but sometimes episodes deserve to be longer.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, man. So man, we went through so much. I'd say from episode 1 to now, like you said, with the cameras, the conversations. Back in the day when we first started, we we would like memorize quotes,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
memorize like we would before you were record, we would just like reread the quote, reread the quote
For like
until we
five
got the
minutes.
quote.
It's like, yo, you got
Yeah,
the
because
quote?
we
It's like, no, no,
yeah,
no, bro.
cause,
Hold on.
cause
Let me try it.
yeah,
No, bro. I
yeah,
need.
because we didn't yeah, but nah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy how far we've came. Um, I applaud
100%.
you because uh you're not dealing with an easy person when it comes to perfection. You know what I mean?
Man.
Uh,
If only if
I know
y'all
there's times
knew.
where yeah, I mean I know there's times, but it's like I try to look at things with from a third person's point of view, and try to put out the best content out there and have the right thing out there because at the end of the day this podcast represents us. If
Right,
people were to come
100%.
watch, it represents us. It's a product that we're putting out there. So we always aimed on perfection and a good product. And we're gonna get
100%.
into questions here shortly, but yeah, man, this was crazy how first the struggles to come up with the name, which we came up with the first day,
Mm-hmm.
then the logo and everything. We definitely wanted something with vibes, and we're like, man, everybody has vibes podcast or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
Vibras was the only thing that we could do, which makes sense. We're Dominican Spanish, and the name makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
It's only a problem when you say it to someone who doesn't speak Spanish, and they're like, what?
Vibras?
But yeah, yeah, but yeah. So the name was something we mutually agreed on. The logo we worked on together, and then going on from that, you could see we had no thumbnail.
Mm-hmm.
Our thumbnails were like YouTube generated or something.
Yeah.
And then I told Michael, man, we need to get our thumbnails out there. I feel like that's important.
And
and
even
finally
that,
we started working on thumbnails, although they were a bit rough at first.
yep.
And then you could see, like, if you guys, I don't know if Michael could show like a sequence of
Mm-hmm.
the thumbnails, but the thumbnails just have changed drastically from the first episode to like our recent episodes. Like, there's times where they look super professional now. Like, it's impressive, and we're always picky with that, and the picture selections and the thumbnail and the title. Also the beats, like the intro beat, we wanted something Dominican, something tropical, something that made sense. We always, we felt like, man, people when they hear that beat, they have to know it's, the vibra. So there
Exactly.
were free for profit beats, thanks to the guys that are making those free for profit beats on YouTube. Um, and yeah, we got them, and people, they enjoyed it. But yeah, man, I'm glad that we're still going at it. There's still a lot to come from this, and now we're gonna enter the question portion where me and
Yes,
Michael are gonna
sir.
ask each other some questions, um, regarding the podcast, and and we're just gonna have a conversation from that. But thank you guys for all of the genuine support from day one to now. Um, you guys are part of our growth. You guys are part of our family. I couldn't thank you guys enough for liking the video, sharing the video, subscribing. The simple subscription, like, I really thank you guys for that. It's something so simple, but it's so hard for many people to do. So you
Right.
guys doing it is definitely appreciated. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yes, sir.
here's
Yes,
so many
sir.
more.
I mean, same
But yeah,
thing.
let's get into the. Oh, you got something else to
No,
say?
no, no, no. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. Let's get right into it.
All right. Not facts. So I already asked you a question at first. It slipped. So that was my first question. So
Hmm.
now it's your turn, bro.
Yeah, yeah. So 100 episodes. We done a whole lot of different topics. I do want to know,
Yeah.
like, is there any topics that you wish that we would have done, or that you think would, or any topics that we have talked about that you think deserve a lot more attention than what it had received?
Yeah. So like I said, we always discuss, maintaining professionalism, from the beginning to now, also, and for the future. So we're in an era right now where it's very a sensitive era. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you got to be careful with what you say. Um, so like we always aimed on not touching certain subjects.
Right. 100%.
Because many crowds are sensitive, and people, you can get canceled and stuff like that, and we're trying to grow, and it doesn't help us out to get canceled. We haven't even made it yet. So
Right. Right.
but I'd say, I feel like I always talk to you about this, and I feel like it's gonna happen in the future. It
Mm-hmm.
really is. Whenever we get a nice studio and stuff, and we're in person again, I always would love to have the perspective of a woman on the
Right.
podcast.
Yes. Yes.
I feel like the woman's perspective brings a fresh mindset, fresh perspective to the podcast. It gives the podcast, less machista, more of a balance,
Right.
to the
Right.
episodes. You get two different point of views. It opens more debates. It's just a better feeling, I feel like, and you see a lot of the successful episodes, or a lot of the successful podcasts out there have a woman's presence. Just because it's a lot of pros from it, and it's fair. It's fair because women listen to the episodes, and sometimes their voice wants to be heard, or their opinion, should be involved as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just something I wish we had. So maybe that's why I feel like we haven't been able to touch on many subjects. I'd say because, I mean, we can't really give
A woman's
women a
perspective.
woman answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, a woman's perspective. That's my take on all of that. And I do feel like part of that is part of, I feel like, personally, part of the reason we're growing at a slow pace, in my
Mm.
opinion. But
No, I agree. I agree, man. Just that's one of the things that I kind of been waiting for. Just having a woman's perspective, just because there's a lot of topics that we can talk about, but just not having a female perspective is like, okay, yeah, we can't really do that. But yeah,
yeah,
no, I
and
agree
no,
with
it's
you
gonna happen.
100%.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. It's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
yeah, and
It just has to be someone that makes sense. Someone that we can relate to. Um, Yeah, we'll see. Maybe Dominican, maybe not Dominican. We'll see. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yes,
But
sir.
my next question for you is, um, all right, what would you say, um, what would you say was your biggest fear, with starting the podcast, if you had any, or
Mm,
what is your biggest fear with the podcast,
man, apart from
if you
getting
have any?
canceled, man, honestly, my biggest fear was just how people will react when like when you tell somebody, "Oh yeah, I have a podcast," because I feel like when we started, it was around that time where people were bashing people for starting a podcast, and it was like, yeah, that was my biggest fear. But now, man, we've been doing this for 2 years, coming up to 3 years. It's like, man, I'm just gonna and and I feel also getting up there in age. I'm not saying that I'm super old, but I am 25 now. It's like I don't really care about what people think. I'm just gonna try to put my best product out there, and that's exactly what I'm doing now.
Yeah. I mean, we're still young in the podcast
A
game.
hundred
Like we
percent.
said, people we've collabed with previously, they always say, "Damn, we wish we were that young,"
Right,
when we started.
right, yeah,
So I think that's not really. I feel like that's an advantage because
a hundred
we're
percent.
learning the ins and outs of the industry before we get to that point in age, and I think that's good because I feel like when the ball does start to get rolling, we'll be prepared for that moment.
100%.
Um, Now that's I feel like also with what you said, um, I feel like people at first, and you could see people were so attentive to what we had to say,
Mm-hmm.
because like you said, podcasts were at that time, they were like something people didn't really think had a future, or think that
Right.
they think that everyone that was doing it was controversial. So a lot of people were very interested at first, and all the episodes were doing really good. So yeah, I feel like but now, I mean, me personally, I mean, from day one I was always excited to tell people I had a podcast. So I never really had that problem. Um, but I feel what you're saying though. I feel like because you're more of an introvert, I feel like
Yeah, yeah.
um
I'm not like a complete introvert, but I want to say I'm a little more reserved when it comes to like
yeah, I
when it
mean,
comes
no, no, well, yeah,
to
because it's your point of view on many
yeah,
things. So
exactly, exactly.
yeah.
But apart from that, man, I'm a social person, but it's just like I feel like sometimes kind of overthink things a little too much, and I feel a lot
Mhm.
of people can relate when it comes to that as well.
Yeah, and really quick before we go to your next question, I mentioned point of view. And I wanted to share something really quick.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are considering starting a podcast, do it. I remember when we had the opportunity. Well, it just happened to. For those who don't know, we've said it in other episodes and in other people's when we collabed on other people's platforms as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was so simple. Like we were just catching up after some years.
Right.
Uh, both were in college, and I think I was in college. I don't know if you
Yeah,
were still in
nah, I
college.
graduated
Maybe
already. Yeah.
all right, so yeah, so we had a phone call. It was crazy. We had a phone call, and we were just talking for hours, literally.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, man, because I was flirting with the idea of a podcast, with like Twitter, with people on Twitter, because they had spaces and stuff like that at the time and whatever. I think, yeah, but I mean, some of my Twitter friends wanted to start a podcast, and it just never happened. But yeah, we talked for hours, me and Michael. And I'm like, man, that was a podcast.
Right.
I'm like, that was literally a podcast. I'm like, man, I wish people would have listened to this. So for those who want to start a podcast, is that simple. Like if you and your friends have long conversations, why not put it out there if they're benefit if you feel like they're good info and are funny or whatever, charismatic conversations, why not just put it out there and see what happens? You know what I mean? I feel like it's so easy to do, and all you have to do
Oh
is
yeah,
start. So
100%.
don't let something hold you back, and just start. It's fun to do. It's fun to give your perspective on things. It's fun when a lot of people watch. You know what I mean? Like on shorts, it's fun to see a lot of people's perspectives
A
as
lot of
well,
people
comments and
reactions
stuff. So
to as well.
reactions and stuff like that. But yeah, I just had to share that really quick.
No, I
That was a
agree.
nice moment that we had, which led to the podcast.
100%, 100%. And the other thing adding to that, if you can find somebody that you can have like a 1 hour, 2 hour, either in person or phone conversation, without like any pauses, any long pauses. Matter of fact, that's the right person for you to join forces and do a podcast together with.
That's another thing, man. I just brought up a quick thought. Damn. When we first started, damn, that's another reason the episodes are so short. We aimed on not having pauses.
Yeah, yeah,
That was our
big time.
goal. No pauses. No pauses. That was lit. So if you watch the other the first episode, you would hear interruption. And I think that's why I personally still have that bad habit where I just like try to talk over you really quick. I don't know, because if I have something, like I want to get it out,
You
so
want to
there's
get
not
it
a
out soon.
pause. You feel
Nah,
me?
I agree. But
So
I
yeah,
mean, now it's like we kind of like, all right, it's let's just have a normal conversation. There's gonna be like, maybe like a couple second silent, and then okay, yeah, yeah. Because sometimes I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes it's like you have to process the information and think about, especially you don't want to say anything wrong now that this conversation is being recorded and put it out there. Um, we kind of like think, okay, what's the right response for me to reply to what he just said, type of thing. So we
facts,
just go with,
facts.
now it's like more of going with the flow of it, since we have essentially unlimited time to record.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Facts.
So I do want to ask you, as a co-host, has your perspective changed in like on anything when it comes to either podcasting, being a content creator, or even in your life?
Repeat that. I didn't understand.
Has being a co-host on a podcast changed your perspective on anything? Essentially, that's the question. Like whether personal life as a content creator, or even like in your professional life, or anything that you see on the media.
Not necessarily. I mean, I'm still a bit confused, but I don't think so, bro. I don't think so. I think the one thing it has I feel like presented to me is knowing that not everyone's going to have the same opinion. Um you know what I'm saying? And that's something that we had backlash on. I feel not backlash, but people have
Right.
had criticism on, because they would say that we would just agree and we needed to show some disagreement sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, and there has been some debates here and there where there'd be disagreements. Um, but yeah, so I think that's the only thing. It feels like it has opened the door to understanding that there's other opinions out there as well. Although they're not right, you got to let people express them as
Express
well,
their
because for
opinion.
some
Yeah,
reason
100%.
they believe it.
100%.
Yeah. All right. Question. What was the moment or interaction or whatever that you had with someone, or a moment that you had that made you want to keep going with the podcast? Like something that really inspired you to keep going.
Man, it was second time the unreleased episode of the Vibras on the Streets part 2. Um so we met up with somebody from the motherland, uh and he was like,
Facts.
"Yeah, I've been watching you guys for the longest, almost since you guys started." And it was like, "Yo, like I've never met you. How like how do you run into it?" And I feel like that was the thing. It was like, damn, like the fact that somebody that I never met before enjoys what I'm doing and uses that as motivation in his daily life. That was like the thing. It was like, yeah, we gotta keep going with this.
Facts. So I do remember what you're talking about, and he actually joined us the whole
Mm-hmm.
way.
Yeah, yeah.
We
He
brought him
stayed.
on with us. So his name is Israel. Um, he worked with me at my summer job in Ocean City, and he was a cook. So the way everything had happened was one of my guys, Adley. Shout out to Adley. He was like, "Bro, someone wants to talk to you. I'm like, what?
Right.
He's like, yeah. He's like, yeah. There's this guy, man. I'm like, what? So yeah, I go in there and I'm like talking to Adley, and there's just this guy just staring at me like in starstruck. This
Right.
is like one of the
Yeah.
first stars. This is one of the first starstruck moments I have. I'm like, what the heck? And he's like, yo, this guy's like a big fan. I'm like, what the hell you mean? Like, what?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, bro. He told me he watches all your videos, and he had showed me your video, and he was like, he wants to ask if it's you, but he doesn't know if it's you, or something like that. So basically, it was one of the TikTok videos that went semi viral.
Hmm.
One of the Dominican episodes. Thanks to TikTok and thanks to everybody that has supported those shorts. But yeah, so I guess one of those shorts came in his algorithm. He started supporting since then. But yeah, he came up to me. He said, "Bro, you really look like this guy." I'm like, "Bro, that's me." He's like, "What? No
Yo,
way." I'm like,
fat.
"Yeah." I'm like, "Yeah, bro." So yeah. On long story short, he told me he has been supporting the podcast ever since. And he was in shock that I was working at that place. But yeah. So
Right.
then he just happened one time. He asked me that he wanted to come along one time, or he wanted to go into the studio or whatever. And it just happened that I told him what day we were gonna record the unreleased video that we just didn't put out because it was a massive fail.
It was bad.
Um, but yeah, so he came along. He asked a couple questions too,
Right.
so it was a
Yeah.
cool experience.
So we gave
It
him
was a
like,
very cool experience.
I feel like even though that video didn't get released, I feel like from my personal opinion, we got something out of it. Just one, we
Yeah,
got somebody that support us, like just experience what it is doing what we do. And being behind the
yeah,
scenes, he went up to people, asking some questions, and he was a little nervous too. So it was like, yeah, like
yeah.
it's not as easy,
Facts,
but like you just got to
not
put your
facts,
mind into it. And it was just
facts.
overall a good experience. And the other thing that kind of like put in my perspective is like, man, I know that I'm a podcast host, but at the same time, I kind of forget that. And like when people start recognizing you on the streets, it's like, wait, how do you know me? How do I know you? And I
Yeah,
was like, oh,
yeah,
wait, you watched one of my videos, right?
yeah. Not facts, and it has happened many times. Surprisingly, my brother freaking got stopped. My brother, somebody told him if they asked him if he does podcasts. I don't think we look anything alike. But yeah, someone had asked him because they seen me on TikTok, and they thought that he was me. It's
Right,
crazy.
right.
But yeah, and then also like we mentioned in the past, when I was back in Salisbury, every time in drive-throughs or out in public, people would tell me, "Hey, I watch your podcast. Do you do podcasts?" Blah blah blah. Because I think sometimes when you're in a city or something and you post a video, it goes to those people like an algorithm maybe
Right, yeah.
or something like that maybe. So yeah, many people in the city was watching and were supporting. But I feel like one I would do want to share. I'd say my moment was
Yeah.
similar. And it's just when I felt like well, I have multiple, but I'll share this real quick. When we went to the barbershop to Wheelie and Papa's barbershop, State Line,
Mm-hmm.
and they were just so happy to see us, and they were saying, "Man, we like what you guys are doing. Like we support you guys. Keep going. Like you guys look great doing it. Like you know what I'm saying. Like they were giving us a cool message and motivation. Also, I feel like my biggest thing that made me want to keep going is knowing all the countries we have been listened to in.
Right, yeah.
A ton of countries, and honestly, the biggest thing is knowing that we get one view or one listen each week, meaning someone depends on the podcast or someone waits for the podcast each week to listen. That made me want to
100%.
keep going. And that made
100%.
me, enjoy what I'm doing as well. And also people, being moved and inspired. I feel like I'm saying a lot. When we didn't post one time, people were hitting us up
Like,
multiple
what's
times when
going
videos
on?
wouldn't post. What's going on? Stuff like that. That also made me want to keep going.
Nah, I
Your
agree,
turn.
man.
And this
I agree.
might surpass the hour. I'm not sure. We'll
Hey,
see.
man, who we'll see. We'll see how long it takes. Nah, I agree with that part, especially the part of like, just having somebody that comes back each week, just listening, that's kind of definitely a motivator to keep going.
Hmm.
um
Hmm.
but the following questions, if you could go back to like the very first episode, is there anything that you wish we would have done differently, or pay more attention to?
Honestly, my true answer, no. Honestly, no. It's that it's there for that reason. It hasn't got deleted for that reason. It's something that was our first time doing it, and this is something to go back and watch every once in a while to see as growth, motivation, to laugh.
Right.
Because it's funny. We were so like nervous. You know what I mean? Stiff.
100%, especially the first
Uh,
like the first 5 episodes. So we look at each other, it's like, bro, why you so stiff? It's like,
yeah,
man,
facts.
loosen up.
So yeah. So I mean, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't change anything. Honestly, I wouldn't change anything. And people still watch it. So
100%,
no.
yeah. Yeah, no, I agree definitely. It's just is just going back and seeing like the improvement in quality, both audio, with the audio and the visuals. Seeing that improvement in on the, what do you call it, thumbnails, all that stuff. You just shows the amount of growth that we have done over the last couple years, podcasting.
Facts. Facts. I agree. All right. Next question. What would you say was your personally toughest episode to participate in, or to come up with, or to make, or to edit, whatever?
Hmm. So I would say to edit, man, the first uh, 10, honestly, the first season, the whole first season was really tough, bro. And I'll tell you why. Um, so the main thing with the first season, we were using 3 cameras for the most of it, most of the season, and it just I had to sync all the audio, syncing um, all the footage, make sure everything's aligned correctly. Then after I got done syncing the audio from the videos, then I had to sync the audio from the microphones, and then edit the audio for the microphones, making sure they're sounding good and crisp. Um, so I would say that was the toughest season, or the toughest thing that really happened. But once I got used to doing it, and creating a workflow that worked for me, that made everything easier. Like now, I mean, now we are on a virtual platform at the moment, where literally I just have to drop this video here, drop this video here, sync it, edit the audio real quick, and it's done. But even let's say once we go back to a in-person setting, I feel like what it used to take me like 2 3 days to edit is probably going to take me now. I mean, I know it only takes me like a day to do now.
Yeah. So follow up question. I mean, you still have to say your toughest one to participate in or
Ooh.
to come up with. But wait. Well, before we get into that,
Hmm.
with the in person thing that you said, um, would you be opposed to having someone else edit, or would you rather still be the way we have it?
Oh,
Because like it would take away from, because not everyone edits the same. You know what I'm saying?
right,
So that's a
right.
question that I do want to, because
Yes and
I mean,
no.
obviously, if it gets to a point where we can't, like, we have a lot of workload, then
Right,
it makes sense.
right.
But
Yeah.
like, say at this pace, at this pace.
At this pace, no. Just because I feel like it takes away from the originality and the personality that because I'm one of the hosts. So essentially, okay, I know exactly what I want the video to look, and sometimes it's just a little harder to express that to someone. So what I would do instead, I would have essentially someone shadow me if we get, hopefully we get to that point, right, where we're banging out like 2 3 episodes a week, and we actually need somebody to edit the video for us. Um, but what I would do in that case is just have him shadow me, have him understand my vision for each podcast. Well, our vision for each episode when it comes to that. But right now, at this moment, no, 100% no.
All right. And what about hardest one or toughest episode participating or coming up with?
Well, that you know what, participation wise, there were a couple that were borderline risky, and it's just because I'm not a single man. um, one of them being getting spicy. I think that was one of them. Um,
Hmm.
there were a couple. I just can't exactly remember which ones, but there were a couple. Yes, there were a couple that participation wise. I'm like,
No. Yeah.
and
There was one that we didn't drop just because Michael had hit me with a tough question, and I had hit him with an even tougher
the tougher
question,
questions.
and it
Yeah,
didn't drop. Yeah, cause well, like it was like we not that we disrespected each other with the question. It was just questions that or answers that I feel like those
shouldn't be
listening
on the
should have had.
internet. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
Nothing crazy. I
nothing
mean, nothing
crazy.
like yeah.
Nothing that will
I
get us
mean, yeah, but not.
canceled, but it's like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
maybe I shouldn't have my mama listening to this. Type of thing.
Yeah. But no, no, no. But I think I think in part you're missing something. I feel like the on the street you were that
Oh
was I feel like that
yes,
was your toughest
yes, yes.
because you were very nervous, very nervous.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't even know why. Um, because like I said, I'm not a complete introvert. I'm just a reserved person, and I'm social, like in a social environment. That's where I thrive the best. I just don't know why I was so nervous, but that one, yeah, that I would say that's the really, I would say the toughest one, for me.
Yeah,
No, I agree with that.
yeah. I'd say that one, and then also maybe the one we did outside episode we
Uh
did outside. I think it was the season
Oh,
two finale, maybe.
season two finale. That one I was just like more like worried about the camera.
No, no,
And-
no. I'm referring to both in general.
oh yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
cause we had to deal with nature, mosquitoes, the lighting
Mm-hmm.
changing, shifting,
Mm-hmm.
not being able to see too well what's going on,
Exactly.
it being super hot. You know what I mean? Like sweating, all of that.
For that one, I wish we had somebody looking at the camera, and I wish we had some lighting. I wish I would have brought some lighting
Yeah.
that day. But
I
it's
mean, it's
just
hard out. It's outside, bro.
it's yeah, yeah. I feel like we I wish we were a little better prepared for that one, but it was a cool experience. I'll tell you that. It was definitely a cool
Yeah.
experience.
And it was weird because we had people watching us do it
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
a way.
That's the other
So it was
thing
my first time. It was our first time
with an audience.
not talking alone, or yeah, not talking alone. So it was a bit weird. But your question now, bro, if you have any more.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So I do have one more. Let me see here. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, so this I feel like this one will be a good one to ask. What feedbacks or comments from our listeners have stood out to you the most? Is there any particular feedback that made a significant impact on you as well, or on the whole production
Mm,
in general?
Dang, I can't really pinpoint one. I kind of know the origins of them, but I can't pinpoint one. Like I said, criticism. I'd say what
Mm-hmm.
people would say, posture, looking at the camera.
Right.
Um, you know what I mean. Also, when we did some of the Dominican episodes, and posted them, many other countries took offense to some of our answers. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like understanding, like rephrasing the in the future Dominican episodes that we did, saying, "Hey, maybe your country may have this, but we have this. We say it this way or we use it this way." I think that's something that I considered. Also, I'd say when people would comment greetings from whatever country or whatever like that, uh, you know,
Right. Hundred
surprised me
percent.
and opened my eyes a bit more. I'd say for sure. What about you?
I mean, there's been a lot of them. I mean, like you said, it's a lot of criticism that we took. Like maybe a lot, like you said, posture. just
Hmm.
kind of added to everything. Because well, one thing that I would say I'm proud of myself for, and same thing with you, is that a lot of people would tell us, okay, I didn't like how this looked, but I think you could do it this way. And we took all that information that people were commenting, sending us personally, um, and all that good stuff, and we're taking it and actually implementing it to see how it will come out. And you know,
I did think of one. Many people, well, many Spanish listeners or people that were speak Spanish speakers that wanted to listen always requested Spanish episodes
hmm
and or captions, which is extremely hard to do. But we will eventually in the future, hopefully, God willing, have Spanish episodes or a separate, the Vibra Spanish channel. We'll see.
correct, correct.
Um, it's crazy because Mr. Beast does like he
He
has people
does.
that do voiceovers for
Oh
him,
man,
and like 20 languages,
12
bro.
languages, bro. Just yeah, that is crazy. I mean, we'll get there
Hmm.
eventually. Definitely, I
I
feel,
mean, Mr. Beast is Mr. Beast.
yeah, Mr. Breeze, he has like a gigantic production team, so he got it all. Definitely when the team grows a little bit, when it's not just me and you, of course. Definitely, Spanish episode is definitely something I've been looking forward to, even if it is a one-off. But I feel like us living here in the U.S. is kind of like, okay, what we're going to talk about, like what type of thing should we talk about in that case?
Right, I agree. All right, last question from me for you. I think you've maybe answered this in the past, but I mean, things change.
Mm-hmm.
Time changes, perspectives change.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say? What would you say is your ultimate goal with the Vibras and the podcast?
Man, have a household brand, honestly. Um, I definitely want to branch out to like where we can have different segments. Maybe we have like a sports segments. Maybe we have like a entertainment news segment. That's the goal, honestly. Just have this be a whole network where we have different segments. Maybe we have like a music only segment, and not necessarily like us host it, but if it would be cool to have a whole team where okay, this person hosts this person hosts this, depending on what their abilities are. I would say that's the ultimate goal, and hopefully have our own streaming app. 5.99.
Damn, that's major. Not facts. Nah, I'd say it's mutual. I mean, definitely wanting to venture out to more content. Be I'd say not consistent, but way more producing way more content.
Right.
So consistent with more content, if that makes sense. Um, and I don't know, just being I feel like people like a mass amount of people depending on the podcast each and
Right.
every week.
No, I agree.
When I say mass, like it's like thousands. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
God willing, eventually we'll cross that bridge. I know. Whenever we get in person again, I feel like the ball is gonna pick up and start rolling even like quicker.
a
I
hundred
know that for a
percent.
fact.
Yeah. And
Um,
definitely
yeah,
when once we cross that bridge, uh we'll have something special for you guys once we're back in person. Um one of the things, and I feel like we were talking about it like a while back, is like it would be cool to have a space where we can record, and where the listeners can come to either be an audience member or just visit, um, shop merch and
yeah,
stuff like that. So that's that's in the talk. So we'll see how everything pans out.
facts. No, I agree. Um, but yeah, I mean, we can wrap it up right there.
Yes,
Nah,
sir.
yeah, 100 episodes. This was a more personal, reflection, question, Q&A type of thing. Um, wow, I mean, it's still surreal to me. let us know in the comments how you guys feel about us accomplishing 100 episodes. Comment down below, some a message that you want to share with us. Also comment your favorite episodes if you have any. And yeah, like how you guys feel about us and finally reaching this milestone. Just share something nice in the comments, and just like something so simple can make our day. So let us see
100%.
your nice messages, comments down there in the comment section. But yeah, thank you guys, like I always say, for all the support. I can't thank you guys enough, especially those that have been with us since day one. I genuinely appreciate you guys. Here's to more 100th episode, well, 200, 300, 400,
1,000.
500, 500, then 500, 500. I'm
Yeah.
tripping. 600, yeah, 1,000th episode. Like, more to come, God willing. Just pray God gives us, knowledge, wisdom, health, and more importantly, the opportunity and blessing to come on here each and every week to give you guys some content. Any last messages from you?
Man, just go out there and get it, man. Like, if you want to be a podcast host, go ahead and start. Anything that you want to start, man, make today day one. You know, look at us, what we've been able to accomplish. I mean, I'm not saying that we're the biggest podcast, but we definitely have touched a lot of people's life. And definitely is something to be proud of. So go out there and follow your dreams and do what you want to do, man.
Facts. And really quick, want to shout out. I mean, it sucks that this at the end of the episode. Hopefully, comes to sees it, whatever. But yeah, quick shout out to Ground Zone Clothing.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, they Ground Zone Clothing. Jazeel, he sent the V with us some merch. I want to thank you for sending us some merch. Appreciate the vision. We appreciate the support. As a fellow Dominican, we like to see other Dominicans creating stuff and having their own brands and starting their own brands. So yeah, make sure you guys go check them out. Check out Ground Zone Clothing. Also, I do want to say we don't have a PO box, but if anybody out there, if you have anything that you make, or you want to send us anything, you're not obligated to, but if anybody wanted to send us anything, we don't have a PO box, but if you DM us and it's legit, we could share an address that you could send it to, and we could shout you out.
Yes, sir.
We just want to help each other, man. That's it.
I agree. Well, with this being the end of the episode, make sure you guys are liking, commenting, and subscribing. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure that you hit that notification bell. That way you get updated with the latest and newest coming from the channel. And if you're listening, as always, make sure to leave a review. Is it a review? I feel like I always get it wrong, but yeah, it is a review.
Review, rating, all of that that's on your audio platform. Make sure you do all of that. But more importantly, as we always say, remember to subscribe.
And
let's vibe.
Peace. Amor y paz. Hablamos
Let's go.
Monday.
YouTube, stop putting ads on our stuff and not paying.